Hi, Jeremy. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing today, Sonia?
I'm pretty good. I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about our different options, degree options we have on campus, uh, online, offline, for students who are interested in furthering their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. I know this is a topic of much discussion in the advising office, specifically for our accounting students as they are working towards getting their undergraduate degree and then what to do next if they're trying to get to that 150 credit mark for the CPA.
Yep, yep. So I guess we should introduce ourselves real quick.
Absolutely. So my name is Jeremy Teed, and I'm the Assistant Dean for Undergraduate Student Success.
Yeah, and I'm Sonia Pippin. I'm professor of accounting and the director of both of our master's programs, the online and the live one. And here's our emails too, in case you want to reach out later and have some, if you have more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you and I have discussed this or had conversations about this a few different times, as well as other accounting faculty. So the main question that I have for you today is, as we're trying to get to the 150 credits for an undergraduate student to get to the CPA exam, what is the best course of action? And is there a best course of action, or is it kind of dependent upon each individual person?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the typical answer is always it depends. That's kind of like the first one you would give. So I personally, I really like the MAcc options, especially for those who maybe not have an undergrad degree in accounting and they come in kind of like from the side and they need that accounting education background because the MAcc degree, so the Master of Accountancy degree, provides that. If you already have an undergrad degree in accounting, it really kind of it's the fastest way probably if you don't have already credits from like having changed majors and stuff like that. And it does give you it's so it does not just only give you another degree, a graduate degree, which is worth something. It also gives you more knowledge that you need to pass the exam because what I always say is, you don't want to just sit for the exam, you also want to pass the exam. And our courses in that master's program definitely designed to help you deepen your knowledge in accounting for your career and for the exam. But these other options aren't bad either. So an MBA is just broader. If you already if you kind of burned out on like your accounting degree and you want to learn a little bit more about other business options, the MBA is a good one. It's also good for networking for sure. And then if you already have like enough credits at the undergraduate level because you're a double major, you can definitely go that route too.
So as we look at these different degrees, so typically if a student were to come in straight out of high school, going to be an accounting major, they will typically get to, assuming they take no sidetracks to any other major, they'll usually get to about to 111 credits at their undergrad degree. Assuming they start in English 101, Math 126, and kind of do everything perfectly that's on our checklist. Typically, then we always encourage them, you should take a look at the finance double major because that adds 4 extra classes to get that. And then you're usually able to get that in about the same 4-year span, and it adds a couple extra credits, but they're usually coming up then a little bit less than 30 credits. So how many credits is the online MAcc and how many credits is the in-person MAcc?
So the core MAcc for both is just 10 courses or 30 credits.
Okay.
But if you don't have a degree in accounting, an undergraduate degree in accounting, you need to take some background courses. For the online MAcc, we just redesigned it. So you only need 2 background courses, which is basically then just 12 classes, 36 credits. For the live MAcc, we still keep it at the like 6 to 7 background courses, depending on where you're at. So it's a little bit more, but you can take them at the undergraduate level, which I guess makes it a little bit cheaper, easier. I don't know. It's sort of up to you. But if you go the online route, it's just 12 courses if you don't have a degree in accounting and 10 courses if you do.
Okay. And the in-person one is exactly 10, again, assuming that you have the in-person or the degree. So that gets you right to the 150. Now, if they did do the accounting and finance double major, then they might land at like 150 156, something like that, which is at the end of the day, now you have 2 undergraduate degrees and you have a master's degree as well. So one of the other things that the students always want to talk about, right? These are business students, so they want to talk about return on their investment. And I know for our MBA, we don't necessarily encourage students to go directly from undergrad into the grad program. We want them to get a little bit of experience. But for one of the graduate degrees in accounting, is there any thought of something similar, or is it more okay and more common to go right from undergrad straight into grad?
It's across the board, really. We see everything. For the online one, it's more like people coming back later because they graduated with their degree or degrees, and then like they start working and then they realize, oh, I should have gotten that master's degree because now I need it. But now I can't just go back to campus because work and life and family. But the online version is attractive for that reason. So
okay. And if there is an undergraduate degree, so I mentioned the finance, adding that one in, but that's not going to get you to the 150. I know when I've talked to Dr. Jeff Wong, he's mentioned the full information systems degree is also, sounds like it's becoming more and more sought after by accounting firms. Now, there's obviously some benefits to that because you're paying undergrad tuition as opposed to graduate tuition, but any thoughts on the IS degree, adding the full one, not necessarily doing the hybrid accounting information systems degree?
Yeah, if you're interested in getting more information systems, I would definitely recommend getting the IS degree, the full one, because that way you have the accounting education that you need plus some information systems. Of course, we also have the graduate degree in information systems and the analytics degree. So those would be options too.
So lots of different options.
Yep.
Kind of where we land, and for each individual person, it's going to be kind of up to them. I think the thing that I always kind of look back on is now as I'm getting older, have a family, things like that, and I have a couple friends who didn't necessarily go back and get their graduate degrees when they were younger. I went and got mine when I was 25, and I didn't necessarily have a family yet, so it was a lot easier for me to kind of manage that, as opposed to now that I'm older, I can't imagine what it would be like to try to go back and get a graduate degree while having small children, while working full time, and all of those things. So when I talk to students, my I guess piece on this is, once you have a graduate degree, you have it forever. You never have to go back and get it. Nobody's ever gonna I don't think many people particularly care that mine was 11 years ago at this point. They just care that I get to check the box. So while it costs a little bit more upfront, sometimes I think it might have a longer return on investment in the long run. Now, I also say I realize that we work at a university, as we talk about at this, but that's kind of my take on it, where especially, again, you don't want to just sit for the CPA. You want to pass the CPA, and taking those additional accounting classes to help prepare you for that, and then have the extra credential on top of it, seems to be something that works really well together, I guess is the way that I would put it.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, it is not cheap. We know that, and we are aware that people have to look at their finances too. But it's kind of tempting to say, I'll just get my undergraduate degree, go out and start working because I can make so much money right now. But you're right, in the long run, it tends to pay off because you can get promoted higher, quicker, even though maybe in the beginning it doesn't look like, the employer is going to make any difference or any distinction between having a graduate degree or not. In the long run, they probably will. And so it's a good thing to have for that reason too.
Do you know
yes.
If so maybe not the first job, right? Like, because a lot of our accounting grads are going into one of the big four, and whether you have the grad or not, but when they're going to maybe the second job or the third job, is that where the negotiation, the salary negotiation can be a little bit stronger because you have that graduate degree as well as the CPA and the all that stuff? At that point, you have the whole package.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to talk a little bit about the cost. I mean, the cost depends as far as like the time cost is one, but also the financial cost, the dollars. It depends on what you're getting. The online degrees are a little bit more expensive but they're the same, doesn't matter where you live. There's no in or out of state tuition. So for example, our online MAcc is about 30,000, the whole thing, for if you need the background and the core, and for the core, it's a little bit cheaper, it's about 26,000 or something like that. MBA, again, the online one, I think it's just also about 30,000, I think, for the online EMBA program. And then for the ones that are on campus, it just really depends on if you're in state, out of state, how many courses you're planning on taking each semester, because there's all these fees that come on top of it. But there are some tuition calculators that you can look at on the grad school websites that will help you with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, these are the folks who they usually balance their budget pretty well. So they will definitely know how to do all of the calculations to see what makes the most sense. So talking about the requirements, I'll let you jump into that.
Oh yeah, so excuse me. For the MAcc program, for the online MAcc program, we don't require a GMAT. We still require the GMAT, or it could also be a GRE. For the life program, there might be some changes coming. We kind of tend to move away from these standardized tests, admission tests, because they're not really, there's some questions how helpful they really are. For right now, the GMAT's still required, but it's for the life one, but not for the online Masters of Accountancy program. And I believe the same is true for the MBA. The EMBA does not require a GMAT, and I don't think that life one does either, but it might still. I'm not 100% sure on that one, because I'm not in charge of that one. Languages, English. I mean, if you come from a country that's considered like a foreign language country, and there's a list of those that qualify for, you don't need a language requirement. It's also on the grad school website. You need either the IELTS or the TOEFL, one of those standardized language tests to get accepted. That doesn't it normally not a big hurdle, honestly, for the applicants that we see, because if you are good at a GMAT, your language is normally not a problem.
And ultimately, oops, went too far. We'll put our email addresses back up here, and if anybody has any questions out to us, we'll get you connected to the right person. So as you take a look at this, if you want to speak a little bit to the graduate programs, how long does it typically take to get through? If somebody's going, let's say, right out of undergrad full time.
Yeah. So for the online program, it's basically about 2 years, because we do like 2 classes a term and 3 terms a year. So that gives you 2 years. For the life, some people can get it done in 1 year if they just take like 3, 4, 5 classes a term, which is kind of challenging, but I've seen it before. Very many do, like maybe they take like 1 graduate class in the last semester of the undergraduate program. And so they start moving into it, and then they have like 1 full year and maybe 1 more semester to get it done. So it kind of depends. And then others, they just take a long time, because they're working full time, they have families, and for them, they take like 1 or 2 classes a term, and it just takes like 2 to 3 years. I think on average, I would say about 2 years is sort of seems to be the average for most of our MAcc students in the live program. And the online program, yeah, it's designed to be 2 years.
Okay. I know you kind of mentioned a little bit of this, but how are the classes designed? Are people able to work, still have families?
Yes.
Good stuff.
A lot of our students work full time. They might already be working in accounting firms or some, like in some corporate environment. So a lot of our classes are offered either in the evening for the live program, and then of course the online classes, they're online asynchronous. So there's total flexibility for you to get the work done when you can do it.
Okay. What about capstone or thesis for these?
Neither. Neither for all of our programs, the MBA, the EMBA, the online MAcc, the live MAcc, there's no thesis or capstone requirement.
All right. Awesome. Well, I think we've probably taken up enough of your time. So thank you for coming on and having a chat with me today to help answer some of these questions. Because like I said, I get these questions almost with every accounting student as they're getting closer to their senior year, and they're thinking that they're wanting to go on for that 150. So hopefully this was helpful for those students. And by all means, you can continue to reach out to me. I always direct them over to you anyways, since you have a little bit more experience in that space. But anything to add before we wrap up?
Not really, just like if anybody has any questions, reach out. The emails are right there. And yes, there they are. And I'm happy to help.
All right. Well, thank you again.